Today on The View from a Pew, you'll meet Bruce Hall for the second time. Bruce was an atheist, and then Jesus mugged him. His story coming up live here on The View from the Pew on The Truth.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome. 4 minutes after 2 o'clock on this. Well, we won't date this show because this show will be a best of, I'm sure, and there's nothing that we're going to talk about that's probably current that would be timely. So welcome. It's The View from a Pew, live on 99.3, The Truth, and we're coming live from the Webcast One Live studios. We are getting ready to expand our signal, and found out today we're getting a little closer. And at that point, the Webcast studios will be at one end of our suite of offices in the Merle Hay Mall Tower, top of the Merle Hay Mall Tower. That's that office building that comes out of the mall. You go back by where the old theater was. And because of all the noise that Frank makes, we have to have sound barriers put between the radio station and us. So they're constructing 12-foot thick cement sound barriers, and then they bought some of that NASCAR foam that they put on the side of the track, so when the car hits them, you know, they'll bounce off. So they're putting a bunch of that stuff up. Jeff Gordon was in measuring yesterday because he's got nothing to do. So anyway, that's going to be happening here in the next couple weeks, but little by little things are changing. We got some signage up today, Frank.
Wow.
So you can actually go in the back of the mall and look up to the 6th floor, and you can see where Frank's will be in the studio. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow people with high-end firearms, and we're going to tell them exactly where they'd shoot to hit Frank. But they won't shoot bullets. They'll shoot paint guns. And we're going to have them shoot the green from the green screen, and if you hit Frank enough, you won't see Frank.
Dunk tank.
A dunk tank. There you go.
Now we're talking.
Tank. Yeah, because I don't want to hurt. I don't want you to get physically hurt. I just want to break your pharisaical mood. And by the way, Deb called yesterday, and she was so nice, and I always appreciate that. She called me up and kind of told me how she looked at Pharisee and pharisaical. And apparently, I don't know, you may be more right than me.
Oh, she set you straight.
No, she didn't set me straight. Good heavens. See what he does, Bruce? He just jumps.
I can see that there's going to be some trouble here.
I just jumped to the conclusion.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about the journey. It's not just about getting there. It's not always about the destination.
It's the journey, not the destination.
It's the journey.
Yeah.
Well, the destination's important because if you get lost along the way in the journey, you end up being like the Israelites and wandering around for 40 years, and that's not good. So anyway, by the way, remind me to tell you the camel joke.
Okay.
Great joke. All right, Bruce Hall, who came in, was that a week ago today?
It might have been.
Yeah. And I just thought Bruce's story would be one and done. And Bruce is not only a very good communicator, he's really smart. And I'm comparing that to me because I've been sitting here listening to him and Frank talk back and forth, and it's way above me, way above my pay grade. And so I may have to stop them and slow them down a little bit because they get running quickly in their little red fire truck wagons, and I can't keep up.
And Mac's head's been spinning like it's on a swivel.
You know what your IQ is?
No, I've never had an IQ test.
Oh, you and Frank, you guys got to be in the my IQ so high I sound stupid range, I think.
Well, I have the slack life now because my kids are grown. I can read all the time.
Do we need to pray for your wife?
She says I've gotten noticeably better. I don't always. I've calmed myself down considerably. I could bring her in and she would confirm this.
Yeah?
Was you ever told you was a little gregarious when you was a lad in school?
This came later. I was not quite like this in school. I was a little bit more of a troublemaker in different ways in school.
Oh.
Would you say you're pharisaical?
Oh, I don't think so.
right.
I wouldn't say that. You'll have to decide that.
Bruce does teach Sunday school, and he teaches a curriculum that he has written or is writing called Making the Case for the Christian Worldview. And who more unique than to write a curriculum and teach it than somebody who for how many years?
The first probably 37, 38 years of my life, I was an atheist.
You were an atheist. Now, tell me what atheist means to you. I mean, I know what it means to me, but some people it's different.
When I was growing up, my mom just told me that religious people were stupid and needed a crutch, and there was no God, and it was all a bunch of nonsense. And I think I mentioned last time I was here that I do claim that as a sophomore in high school in 1976, I coined the term hippochristian.
Hippochristian.
Yes.
All right. So it's fair to say you were militant?
At least
Argumentative?
Yes. If anybody had tried, and I remember maybe a couple of times where people tried to engage me, but I was always reasonably quick-witted, and I didn't know how to make a good argument, but I knew how to be snotty and snarky.
Yeah, you just showed a little bit of humility there, because you're not a little snarky. And when your wife said noticeably better, I think so.
Well, bless your heart,
bet
I
so.
think.
It's what happens when your wife says, you're really unnoticeably better. That's the one you got to be careful of.
Okay.
Honey, have you noticed I've lost weight? I have noticed that. Yes, thank you.
Now, put this in perspective. How old are you now?
I am 55.
Okay, and you're saying that for the first 38 years you were an atheist.
Yes.
Okay.
You got those facts down?
I hope so.
Okay, good. All right, so you grew up in a household where you didn't go to church, and your mother kind of mocked people that did, and not only mocked the people, but mocked the religion.
Well, and it's more than that. Strangely, my dad took my two younger brothers to church. Now, as it works out, now they're both atheists, and I'm a Christian. So I don't know quite how that all balances out, but my brothers went to church from the time they were probably 6 years old, but I never did.
What kind of church? You remember? What denomination?
It would be a conservative church.
But was it like Catholic or Lutheran, or was it?
No, I think like a Baptist church.
Baptist.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's conservative. All right. And so if somebody, all right, so you and I grew up in the same area. I'm just a couple days older than you. When you said the Pledge of Allegiance, did that bother you?
I wasn't that militant about it.
Okay.
I just took it for granted that Darwin had it right, that we all came from nothing, and it really just didn't impact my life. So I just assumed there was no God. My mom told me that. Why would my mom not tell me the truth?
Right. Now, were you if you and I went to school, would everybody know that you were an atheist?
I don't think I was that openly militant about it.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So you'd say something if the question of prayer came up, or healing, or miracle, something like that.
Yeah, I just didn't. I just assumed that was all nonsense.
Okay. Well, the worst thing about religion are the religious people.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, seriously. I grew up, you don't know any of my story, but I grew up Episcopalian. And I would tell you that God and I are like this. I mean, we're tight. And I would say, I can't even stand to say this anymore, but God knows this isn't my heart anymore. But I would say, what do I need with Jesus if I've got God? And they'd say, are you a Christian? I'd say, heavens, no, I'm Episcopalian. I'd say, Christians are way too happy. And if you give me that Bible verse that nobody gets to the Father but through me, I'd push back. I'd look at you kind of mean. I'd do that manipulative thing that crappy people do, and I'd say, I don't need no stinking Jesus. And that's the way I was for 45 years.
Well, you were hostile in a different way.
Well, but see, I still went to church. I went to church every Sunday. For an hour and a half every Sunday, I looked good, sounded good, and acted good. And the other 6 days and 22 hours, I was at SOB. I was not a good man. I was nothing like Jesus at all, and I was probably more like the angry God that people like to try to bring out of the first or what I call the previous Testament, the Old Testament.
Well, Christianity is interesting in that while it isn't all behavior driven. The book of James seems to indicate that, hey, if we don't see any change in your behavior, we're a little suspicious that you're on the up and up about being a Christ follower.
Yeah, that's right. One of the questions we ask in our View from the Pew, pastors' questions, and I think Todd did a good one on this yesterday.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, we said if you accept Jesus and he comes and mugs you, and nobody knows, but you pray to yourself, and when nobody can see, you do kind things, but nobody knows it's attached to Jesus. You never go to church. Are you a good enough Christian? And the answer was, well, you're a Christian, but you're not an obedient one. Because when the Holy Spirit hits you, it's going to want to make you go out and talk to people. And this is where Frank kind of gets off board, but to be nice to people and show them love and not just law.
Well, I was even disconcerted about being baptized.
Really?
At first it was like, what am I supposed to do now, right? What does this mean exactly? Because I didn't understand all of it by a long shot.
When were you baptized?
I didn't get baptized for probably a year and a half, which is not the New Testament model. You're supposed to get baptized right away, and I didn't. I wasn't baptized for probably a year and a half after I was saved. And at first, I studied quite a bit to figure out what I should be doing. And then when I realized I was supposed to get baptized, then I was nervous about doing it because I said to my pastor, I don't think I'm good enough.
Yeah.
And he said, well, the fact that you're suspicious you're not good enough means you're probably okay. You can probably go ahead and get dunked.
So why didn't you go to church with your brothers?
My family situation is that my dad is my stepdad. Now, I love my dad, and he's my only dad, right? Because my real dad disappeared from the picture when I was just young. But my dad grew up at a time when he didn't know. He got instant family with myself and my sister. I was maybe 3 and she was 2 when he married my mom. So he didn't know. You normally learn to be a dad gradually, right? But he just got instant family, so he wasn't quite sure how to deal with me. But it was different with my brothers. Now I'm close to my dad now, but growing up I wasn't very close to my dad. So I think he felt like, hey, this kid's too far gone. I don't have a chance with him. Whereas he thought with my brothers, that he could take them to church and it would stick with them. And strangely, the reverse happened.
Did that cause any kind of rift in the family?
I think of my growing up as Ozzie and Harriet, but there were some ways, and you know how it is if you've raised kids, you look back and you go, I didn't always hit the ball out of the park. And I think my dad would say, well, things weren't the way they should be, but what did he have? He had what his dad taught him. So he was the dad he was trained to be by his dad, which in my case didn't work out that great at early. So I don't want to say that my family situation wasn't great, because it was, but the reason I think that my dad didn't drag me along was because I was his stepson and he wasn't sure how to handle me.
Did you feel welcome to go to church if you wanted to go?
It just never occurred to me. I went once, maybe a couple times with a friend of mine. Oh, this would be a long, long time ago, 10, 11 years old. He was Catholic and he had to go. So he would go, and the whole thing seemed very strange to me. They had the kneelers and all the whole routine, and I didn't know what church was supposed to be like, but I assumed that was it. And it just seemed super weird to me and nonsense to pretend something that I didn't feel or think was true.
All right, so that's going to be our show today, and I have a strange feeling, and I'm usually right about this. Well, no, it's not about being right. I have a strange feeling Bruce is going to be back. Because you ought to hear what goes on behind the microphones. When the microphone's off, him and Frank, they're talking like a couple of Valley girls. Oh, I feel the same way. Oh, did you do that too? I did that. Isn't that fun? Oh, gee, wow. So I have a feeling Bruce will be back again. So we may not we'll tell the story,
okay,
but maybe not all the details, and we'll let the details, come back at some other time. All right, I want to thank Bruce for being here. I want to thank Frank for being here. I want to thank Ryan for being here. And most of all, I want to thank you for being here. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is The View from a Pew on 99.3 The Truth, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
from the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 21 minutes after the hour. Thanks for being here. Remember, we've got a new lineup during the day now. High noon starts with Pastor Michael Mudloff from Westkirk Presbyterian Church, and then Dr. Michael Brown. Boy, he was fired up today. Did you listen to him today?
Line of Fire is his show?
No. Yeah, Line of Fire. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear him today. No.
Somebody called him cowardice.
Oh.
Cowardly. Oh, he was upset. And so that show's live from 1 to 2. And then Frank and I come on from 2 to 3. And then from 3 to 5 is none other than the Steve Deace. That's right. Live, back in the market. Afternoon drive while you drive home is the folks, the guy that people love to hate.
Is he exclusive on 99.3 now?
Will be.
Okay.
Yep, will be. We play his full show from 8 to 11 at night. So glad to have Steve on board, and I sure am going to miss my firstborn son, but it was worth it to get Steve on here. All right, got a great guest today. I think you're going to hear from him again and again. His name is Bruce Hall. He has written and teaches a curriculum, and he would come to your church and teach it?
I'd love to.
Or come to a class at your church or something and teach it. It's called Making the Case for the Christian Worldview. And this comes after you spent 38 years as an agnostic or atheist.
Atheist.
What's the difference in your mind between an agnostic and an atheist?
Well, an agnostic implies that you simply don't have knowledge one way or the other. An atheist, normally the dictionary defines that as you simply say there is no God. You claim to have knowledge that God does not exist.
Okay. And that came from your mother, whom you love very much, and she
Yep.
told you that religious people were stupid and there is no God and da-da-da-da-da. But yet her second husband and his children with your mother would go to church all the time.
Yes.
Did your mother not participate in any of those?
My mother did not participate. They're quite a pair. I mean, to this day, they've been married for, I don't know, a long time now it would be. And they have vastly different worldviews.
And they're still alive.
Yes.
And you've obviously shared with your mother the gospel.
I have tried. Her heart's pretty hard. Yeah, she views, I was the favorite. Well, if my brothers ever hear this, you can believe what you want, but I was the favorite until I became a Christian, and that really disappointed my mom.
Okay, I'd like folks to just put your mom on their prayer list. If you want to tell us her first name, that's fine. God knows who Bruce Hall's mom is.
Let's just say Bruce Hall's mom.
Okay. So for those of you, Jill King, you're listening. I know you are. For those of you, Deb out there, all you folks, put Bruce Hall's mom out there. And the prayer is simply that God would soften her heart, that she would be able to hear the gospel. Because I would imagine she's 85?
No, she's young for my age. She is 72, 73. Let me think. 55, 17. Oh my gosh, is my mom older than I realize? Anyway, they're still both in great health, but yes.
That would be 72, 73.
Yeah.
So she had you as a teenager.
Yes.
All right. And of course, back then, abortion wasn't legal.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I want to hear more about your life as an atheist, but I have to be honest with you. I'm dying to hear what happened. What happened that all of a sudden Jesus comes into your life and you recognize him as your Lord of Lords?
Well, anybody who's been married any length of time knows about pillow talk. You talk to your spouse at night in the wee hours. And I asked my wife one time, why does your church believe whatever it happened to be? At the time, it was her church, not our church.
Sure.
And she said, because it's in the Bible. And I said, well, I know that can't be true because there's 10 trillion denominations and they all say different stuff. So somebody is lying. Give me a Bible and I will check it out for myself. I didn't know that reading the scriptures could actually be dangerous to one's worldview. And I also didn't know, nobody told me you don't normally start at page 1 in the Bible, typically, like you start in every other book. So I started with, I read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I mean, I plowed quite a ways in. And I said, well, listen, I will go to church and I will check it out. So at this time, I was going to church, and a fellow named Paul Prindle stopped me one day and chatted me up. Paul Prindle. You could know him. He's,
okay.
I think these days he's at Ankeny Baptist Church, I think.
Okay.
Altoona, I'm sorry. It's
all
Altoona,
right,
I think.
ahead.
Anyway, he said to me, well, Bruce, you might want to start in the New Testament. Start with the book of John. Well, I have a son named Matthew, so I flip open the New Testament, and lo and behold, it starts with Matthew. And I said, hey, I'll start here. So I jumped into the New Testament. Well, the Old Testament, I won't say it didn't affect me at all, but the New Testament really impacted me. I mean, I would cry, and I couldn't understand why. And I thought, this does not make sense. But I think of myself, and I believe that I am a fairly rationally oriented person, logical. So I said, I'm not going to trust an emotional response. So that led me on a search to, could this really be true, to ascertain. Now, there was the internet at the time. It wasn't what it is now, but there were news groups where people would go back and forth about evolution, about how did the universe come into existence, about the moral argument. And I read and read and read and read. I mean, I would stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning reading, just hungering for this knowledge, beginning to suspect that I was wrong. And over the course of probably 6, 8 months, a year, I came to believe that I was wrong.
Wow.
I just had to go back.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, most people who have declared this allegiance or unallegiance to something as I'm lost for words.
Fundamental.
Yeah, but I was also thinking controversial.
Oh, sure.
You know, especially when your mother, the mother who gave, So, but anyway, congratulations. Go ahead, Frank.
I just had a quick question to go back on your mom. would you consider her a hardcore atheist or more in the agnostic camp? And agnostic, in my definition, would mean somebody who doesn't say there is no God, but if you could prove him to me, I might accept him if you could prove him.
No, she's hardcore atheist, and she connects it, which honestly sometimes Christian people do this too. She connects it to politics. She says Republicans are stupid, and it's because they're Christians or religious and this kind of thing. Which, of course, that's just total nonsense. That can't be defended. So she sees it as inextricably linked with a political point of view. She's very liberal on political issues. Therefore, she sees her atheism inextricably connected with that. And being religious means being stupid.
So now, when you started reading the New Testament, I often say that within the pages of the Bible is the power to change lives. And you're a living testament to that fact, that those words you started reading started impacting and changing your attitude, your life, the way you saw things, and it was inexplicable.
Well, I read a lot as a young man. I still read a lot. There was a time when, busy with the kids where I didn't read so much, but I read a lot when I was young. So when I read the Bible, I could tell this wasn't Thor and Zeus and typical mythology. This was something entirely different. And that scared me because I thought, wait a minute, have I been sold a bill of goods all this time? So that totally shook me up. I just couldn't connect the emotions I was having with reading something that I had no belief in.
So up until that point of you opening those pages, who was your contemporary mentors? Reading-wise.
I always bought the cultural concept of, you mean who did I like to read?
Yes,
which authors?
yes.
I read primarily for pleasure. That I didn't start really reading a lot for hungry for knowledge until that point in time. I read mostly for pleasure, but I like to read detective stuff, science fiction. Now I'm still a Tom Clancy fan. I just don't ever find time to read
was you
any
into
of
Greek
stuff.
mythology?
No, but I just mean that the scriptures are different. Anybody who knows anything about reading, if you read the New Testament, it's nothing like mythology normally is. Entirely different.
It is a gorgeous day outside. We sure appreciate you taking the time to be here. Our guest is Bruce Hall from, you teach at Fellowship Baptist Church.
I go to Slater Baptist Church in Slater.
Okay. And are you from Sheldall?
I do live in Sheldall, yep.
Okay, Jill King just asked me that. Do you know Jill? Jill and Randy King have King's Christian Bookstore up in Boone.
Oh, how did she know?
I don't know. Jill, tell me how you knew. You gotta fess up here. And you have written a curriculum.
Hey, can I just stop you real quick? I don't want to take credit for other people's work. Let's say I've stolen the best curriculum from a variety of authors.
Okay, so you've collected.
Yeah, there we go. That's a better word.
From different authors and combined it into something that you're teaching. That's very honest of you. Thank you. And you call it Making the Case for the Christian Worldview. What do you think is the low-hanging fruit when you can really nail a Christian on there is no God, there is no evolution, or there is evolution, da-da-da-da-da?
I think the most persuasive arguments for the existence, or let's say the falsity or the lack of truth in a naturalistic worldview, the moral argument is, we all know that there is real right and wrong. We know this intuitively, but there's no grounding for that under a naturalistic worldview. Now let me clarify. What I'm not saying is that atheists are immoral. They're built by God the same way we are. And if you look at Scripture in Romans 2:14 and 15, it talks about we have a conscience built in. We know right from wrong. But there's no way, and this includes everyone, and there's no way to ground that in an entirely naturalistic worldview. If we're just atoms, molecules, and chemistry, there's no sense in it.
So would you agree that we're moral beings created by a moral God, and we live in a moral world created by that moral God? So it's innate inside of us, this natural ability to discern right and wrong.
Yes. And the fact that we recognize that it isn't just opinion presupposes that morality is objective. In other words, it doesn't change. Slavery was wrong even when it was legal. it was still wrong. So morality is objective. It's not determined by what we think is right. There is an actual right and wrong that exists just like gravity exists.
So morality doesn't evolve.
No.
Yeah, I used to tell Bradshaw all the time, just because you have the right to say it doesn't mean it's right. Just because you have the right to do it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And Bradshaw's a hardcore, is he agnostic or atheist?
I think he's more agnostic because he wants you to prove it to him.
Yeah, and a lot of it's an act.
Yeah, I believe it's like an alter ego.
Yeah, and I don't know anything you don't know. I mean, don't think for 1 minute I'm trying to hint that when the microphones are off, Bradshaw says, I'm really okay with Jesus. It's just a fun way to be on the air. I really think he doesn't believe in him.
Well, he grew up a Christian. He had a good Christian upbringing, a good Christian mother, and I think it's a little bit of rebellious, and he's just gotten so far out, he don't know how to gracefully walk it back. He's so far out there that he...
I think that's good. I think you and I know other people that are like that. They don't want to get busted by their friends. They don't want their friends to say, "Oh, I see, now you're abandoning us, or you're leaving us, or now you believe in God. Oh, thanks a lot."
They don't know how to save face.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, and it's a big deal when you've made a commitment. Think about being 37 years an atheist and changing your mind and admitting all along you were a stupid fool. Nobody likes to do that regardless of what your worldview is. So it's just hard.
Yeah, I had to do the same thing, though. In fact, I gave my testimony this morning to a group of men, and I said, man, I was wrong. I was dead, ignorant, stupid, pig-headed, door shut, eyes closed, hand over the ears, not listening. All right, Bruce Hall is my guest. He teaches a class or a curriculum called Making the Case for the Christian Worldview. We'll hear more from him as we continue here live on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do. What type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. I'm sorry, I was singing out loud. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News updating us. And then at 3:03, it's the Steve Deace, a man I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and it's very hard to listen to sometimes. So if it's hard for you to listen to him too, I understand. But listen to Steve. He really knows his stuff. He really knows his Bible. Have you ever heard Steve preach a sermon, either one of you?
No, but I've heard
He's
him
very
on radio.
good. He's very good at preaching a sermon.
He just knows his stuff. He's just one sharp cookie. I tweeted one time that if I had to debate him on something, I want to debate him on something he knows nothing about, because anything else, he'd clean your clock.
And I'm not sure there isn't. I don't know what that subject would be.
I think the gal that helps him, her name escapes me. She suggested auto mechanics, possibly.
That would be true. And I'd have to say, and if Steve's listening, he'll be mad at me, but I don't think he has squat about fashion.
Okay, well, I don't either, so that's not going to help me.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you're talking to a guy who always wears black, so I don't have to know anything about fashion. But Steve Deace comes on 3:03 to 5 o'clock live, back in this market in Afternoon Drive. So honored to have him on the radio station. Seriously, so honored. All right, so Bruce Hall is our guest today, I think first of many times. Bruce is 55, grew up here in Des Moines, Urbandale.
Urbandale, yeah.
And remembers driving up and down Meredith Road when it was a gravel road.
Gravel, yes. Those many moons ago.
And he teaches a class, facilitates a class, currently at Fellowship Baptist in Des Moines, but he'd come to your men's group, he'd come to your women's group, he'd come to your church and give a presentation. He's very good at it. And he calls it making the case for the Christian worldview. And as honest as he is, he does admit that this curriculum comes from many, many, many good teachers and preachers and authors.
Yep.
Well, and what does it? And is there really such a thing as an original idea? Frank, don't answer that. Is there anybody in this room, except for Frank, that thinks that they've ever had an original idea?
I recall the scriptures say somewhere there's nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
It's all accumulated
in Ecclesiastes,
knowledge.
I think.
Yeah.
Really? Accumulated knowledge handed down. Mine just comes from the Word and not from infidel authors.
Infidel authors. Oh, the infidels. Okay. It's a good thing Christians aren't militant because, man, you'd be armed and dangerous. All right, so grew up 55 years, didn't believe in God. Mother told you from day one there was no God and religious people were stupid, and unfortunately she still believes that.
Yes.
So we've asked for you to put Bruce Hall's mother, we're not going to name names, on your prayer list, that simply God would soften her heart, that she is loved, she is a princess, she is a risen daughter of a risen king, and God loves her anyway, but she's got one chance. Because she's lived her life in blasphemy. And that is the only unexcusable sin. And Bruce would like to spend the rest of eternity with his mother. And so Bruce can't do that. Your brothers can't do that. Your wife can't do that. Your kids can't do that. That's a Jesus thing.
That's right.
So let's send the armies over to Bruce Hall's mothers and see if we can soften her heart. So what do you say? All right, here, I want both opinions. What did you say when you were an atheist about evolution?
Oh, boy. Okay, here's the thing on evolution. This is not going to be popular with my Christian brothers. Evolution is not a battle I fight, and I'll tell you why. Let me not assert that I think that it's factual, but let me tell you that evolution presupposes life coming from non-life. And that's...
Hold on, back up. Say that again.
I'm sorry.
Frank, are you listening?
Yes.
Okay.
What did he say?
Nothing from nothing.
Evolution, in other words, Darwin didn't talk about where did the initial life come from. He just said there is initial life. But we know that the universe came into existence from seemingly nothing. So you have no life. And somehow the pump gets primed. Well, priming the pump, the first life is much more difficult to explain or to hypothesize than evolution is by a long shot. So when I engage with skeptics about this, I don't care about evolution. I want to know, how do you assert life came from non-life? And more importantly, how do you begin the universe? Because it seems as though something that has a beginning from nothing requires a beginner. Greg Koukl says, I don't mind the Big Bang because I know who the banger was. So when I engage on evolution, although I think there are good arguments against it, the Cambrian explosion, which shows all these life forms to have come into existence in a relatively short period of time, I think a person who advocates evolution reasonably should be challenged to explain how there is life to begin with.
Matt goes home today, and he's already got some issues there because of volunteering something. But let's say he goes home and there's a zebra in his kitchen. And his wife says, how'd this zebra get here? Max says, I don't know. Came from nothing. It's here. That's what they're asking you to believe, that something just came from nothing. Nothing was the creator.
Well, it seems when you look at a human cell and you realize there's 4 billion pieces of DNA in there. It might be million. I could be in trouble there. And each one of those consists of 4 amino acids, which are coded in a specific way, which clearly seem to be computer code, or just like we create computer code now, to say, well, that just happened over time. That seems a little bit unlikely to me. But I think the issue of where did the first life come from? How did the universe come into existence? And again, my go-to when I talk with people is objective morality.
But going back to your pump priming, what primed the pump?
Yeah.
There's no explanation on their part.
Evolution simply assumes that there is life.
Right.
And the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was interrupting. Finish, and then I want to say something.
I was going to say one of the things that you hear is called panspermia. Well, I'll spare you what it's called. It says, well, life came from another planet, but that just pushes the question back one level. Where did that life come from? At one time, there was no life, there was no universe, there was seemingly nothing. And then there wasn't nothing anymore.
I want to be a devil's advocate, so I'm going to take the role of the atheist for a second.
All right.
So where'd God come from?
Okay, this is what's called a category error. God is by definition, and you're going to have to stop me if this gets a little carried away, is by definition doesn't have a beginning. Aristotle was the first one to talk about this, and he talked about the unmoved mover. In order for us to have anything, there has to be something which started it which doesn't have a beginning. That's God by definition.
And that's a good answer. But what would I don't have a comeback to that. What would an atheist say back?
Well, I will tell you that Richard Dawkins, in his book, I think it's in The God Delusion, acts as though this is some big issue. But if you look at science, when you find a cause of something, it doesn't mean you have to find infinitely all the causes that preceded the cause to have a satisfactory explanation. So the way I've heard it explained is a category error is, for instance, saying, what does the color purple smell like? The question you're asking me is what began the being who was never begun? The question is incoherent. It doesn't make sense.
You're asking the wrong question.
Yes, you're asking a question that makes no sense.
Yeah, if a blind person says to you, what does the color purple smell like? The blind person, no, I'm sorry. If somebody asks a blind person, okay, if you can't see purple, what does it smell like? That person would probably say, that's not the right question.
It isn't the right question. That's exactly correct.
That's not the right question. All right, we're going to take a break. Coming back. You are coming back, by the way. We're not even poising this.
Terrific.
I do want you to just tease us a little bit when we come back about what happened. Why all of a sudden did you? I mean, you said you started to read the Bible, and your wife went to church every Sunday, but something must have happened in which you knew the Holy Spirit entered you, and now you're saved. You've received redemption, justification, and you're in sanctification. I want to talk about that when we come back. Bruce Hall's my guest. Frank's here, Ryan's here, you're here, and that's all we need here on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Oh, now that's so much more pleasant music, Ryan, than that darn drum rock and roll stuff you play. Man, am I getting old? Because that sounds too loud. I'm just telling you. Am I getting old?
Yes.
Okay. We were humming Paul Simon songs a little bit ago, so that must tell you how old we're getting. And my favorite singer, my favorite female singer of all time, is still Karen Carpenter. Now, I don't know if you're going to take my man card away because of that, but I love the Carpenters. Every song, I'll get on YouTube and just listen to those, and just brings back memories.
It's amazing the music you can find on YouTube, isn't it? I didn't know that until maybe a year ago.
Yeah, you can find everything.
How about Linda Ronstadt?
Linda Ronstadt, she's all right. She's all right. I liked her much better in the middle days.
Yes.
She started out as a country girl,
right,
and she didn't do very well as a country girl. But in the mid-'70s, she did a soundtrack with the Doobie Brothers, and it was called FM. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it was FM. And it was about this FM radio station. It's kind of a KRP, but it was serious. And this FM radio station got bought by the big guys, and they were going to turn it on corporate. And so the fans rushed the radio station and sealed it off and wouldn't turn the radio station back over until the owner agreed to keep their AOR, album-oriented rock FM. So anyway, that's too much radio information. I could talk about that all day.
Yes.
My second favorite subject next to Jesus.
I would not have known what AOR meant.
Album-oriented.
Well, I'm going to file that. Album-oriented rock.
Yeah, and if you live here in Des Moines, the first AOR station would have been KFMG.
Well, I do remember those call letters.
All right, and then they fired the guy that ran that, and they turned it to Go 95, and then it became a rock station. Now, the only album-oriented rock station we have is the old KFMG, which you can't get unless it's online.
Now, does an album-oriented rock station literally play a whole album?
No, but an album-oriented rock station will go deep into the album and play
and
some
not
of the
just
best
the
cuts.
hit.
Right.
They'll give you the longer cuts, too, won't they?
Yeah.
Like the 13-minute.
Yeah, absolutely. The here's a little trivia you want to know. I'm a country music fan. I love country music, always have been. The artist's favorite song on a country music album is the last cut. So many times, if you go to the last cut, especially for a singer-songwriter like a Clint Black or an Alan Jackson, the last song on their album is their favorite song.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so too much information. All right, so what happened the moment you were saved? How did you know? What was it, a microwave or was it a crock pot?
Oh, you're going to think this is probably strange. I prayed at night, laying in bed next to my wife, and she was sound asleep. I just finally became convinced it was not some huge immediate change. It should have been a bigger change right away than it was, if I was real honest with you. But I didn't know. I didn't understand. And, I mean, Cider Baptist Church is a good church, but I'm quite a bit out of the ordinary in many ways. But specifically in this way, somebody who comes to Jesus much older in life than people typically do. So I didn't know what I was supposed to do next.
How long ago did this happen?
Well, I'm 55, and I was, like I said, 37, 38 years old.
All right, so 12, 13 years, or 17.
17 years.
Now, what about your kids?
When my wife and I got married, and this is funny, we were counseled by she was at the time going to a Lutheran church, and we were counseled by a Lutheran pastor, a lady. I've kidded my kids ever since that we're probably not even really married because we were married by a lady pastor.
Now, that's only Missouri Senate. That's not ELCA.
Okay. Anyway, so I said at the time, hey, I don't care. If you want to take the kids to church, that's fine, but I didn't go. So my kids, and I didn't find this out till later, they would cry sometimes driving home from church because they knew I wasn't saved. And so finally, when I started going to church, I remember seeing a bulletin one time, my name was in it. And you understand, I didn't tithe. I wasn't openly hostile, but I wasn't, engaging in friendly necessarily. So I saw my name in a bulletin. I said, why is my name there? And my wife said, because they're praying for you. And I said, why?
Did that hit you?
It still hits me.
Yeah, I can see
it was
emotional.
Disconcerting to me that people liked me who shouldn't like me.
Yeah.
That was annoying.
There was a man in my life by the name of Bruce Stone, and Bruce was the worst atheist I've ever seen in my life. And what I say by worst, I mean that in two ways. Number one, he was an awesome atheist. Maybe I should say that, but just horrible. You were smart about it. You had some answers of why you were an atheist. Bruce just decided he'd be on the other side of the coin. Well, he sat in your chair one day, and we were having this conversation reverse, why he's an atheist, etc. And I said, what's the worst thing anybody could ever do for you? And he said, pray for me. That's the worst thing anybody could ever do is say a prayer for me. So at the end of the show, we prayed for him, and he was furious.
Really?
Oh, he was furious. Furious with me. And we were friends. We were friends. But he was just furious.
Well, it doesn't make sense that people who have no reason to be nice to you will be nice to you.
Yeah.
That was just entirely disconcerting to me.
So would you say when you heard that people were praying for you, that was a beginning?
No, it started before then.
Okay.
Like I said, reading the New Testament, I just could not make heads or tails of my reaction to the New Testament. It was just very confusing to me that I had this emotional reaction to something that I was convinced I didn't believe.
Yeah. And so you began to feel that maybe it was true.
It made me super nervous. So I started researching, and I just read and read and read and read and then read some more. Studied like crazy and thought a lot.
Isn't that C.S. Lewis's story? Same way, where he was just wasn't he a real hardcore atheist?
Well,
or am I getting it wrong?
He was upset about what's called the problem of evil. Why is there so much pain and suffering in the world? And it finally dawned on him one day, how could he say that God had made things crooked unless he had something straight to measure it against? So it dawned on him that for there to be evil, there had to be objective morality, actual good, and his worldview did not explain that. Couldn't explain it.
All right, our time is up for today. What would you... I'm going to make you dig in your heart for a second. This is serious.
Okay.
There's an atheist listening right now. I don't know what her or his name is. I don't know where, but they're listening. We know they're listening. God moves them in front of the radio to hear it. What would you say to them?
I would say that they should examine their worldview. Now, you understand, I'm accustomed to doing things with logic and reason, and that's the way I think and just the way I'm wired. So when I engage with skeptics, I try and show them that their worldview doesn't match with the world that we observe. Objective morality, there's no explanation for it with a naturalistic worldview, and we clearly know that there's good and bad, right and wrong in the world that actually exists. So how do you reconcile that? Atheism doesn't correctly make sense of the world as we see it.
I'm going to have you on next time with Chris John.
Terrific.
And you can go back and listen to some of those shows. He's a sharp guy. I like him. All right, Frank, thanks for being here. Ryan, thanks for being here. And I thank you for being here tonight. You know what I'm going to ask you to do. Have you done it yet, or are you just going to make me say it every single day? Oh, okay, I'll say it every single day. Find somebody you need to forgive. And today on your knees, forgive them. Because as you forgive them, you will be forgiven. It's biblical. See you at church.